Welcome, my friends and enemies. Glad you are here. This is a bit of a strange one for me because it kind of just sideswiped me really hard. So, if you are not aware, Steam has released an well, they have their console called the Steam Deck, and I personally have been kind of fond of it because it's similar to a Switch, Nintendo Switch, but it doesn't detach the sides or anything. It's one solid piece. For example, like this. This is what it is. So basically, you take this really thin, very lightweight, surprisingly, and thin, lightweight, lots of buttons, all that kind of stuff. Like it's all in all a really fun uh, little thing, and you can have kind of access to your entire Steam library through it, which is one of the pros I've enjoyed from it. Where I've kind of advocated for the Steam Deck over the Nintendo Switch for a multitude of reasons. The Switch is really nice and convenient in the way that it has, like, obviously Nintendo games, access to Nintendo games, which is very hard to get outside of obviously Nintendo stuff legally. Nudge, nudge. So, um, Nintendo's great, has party games, not that strong of graphics, higher games like Skyrim or Witcher 3, Doom Eternal, etc. run a bit hard on the Nintendo Switch, and it's frustrating for me because it's like, I mean, it's a portable device. I want to take it everywhere with me. Um, my Switch is much lighter than the Steam Deck, but it's also much smaller than the Steam Deck. The screen is bigger on the Steam Deck. The Switch has a little bit smaller screen. Um, Also, I have the original and I guess Gen 1 Nintendo Switch. So when they released the Nintendo Switch OLED, it got a boost in a whole bunch of areas. Um, but the major boon has been things like the Mario games, the Zelda games, whatever in that kind of area. Like those are the main draws to anything for the Nintendo Switch. And until I discovered or heard or found out or whatever you want to call it about the Steam Deck, the Nintendo Switch was literally like, "This is it, guys. This is our portables," because Xbox abandoned any hope of prayer of ever being a notorious console again. It's kind of dropped too far down. Where PlayStation 5 is just trouncing it left and right. So Sony's totally winning. But both of them are struggling in the handheld department because mostly the handheld department for like Sony, where they have the little thing you can like slap on to like this screen, or it's one piece. I don't remember which one it is. It's basically like it just uses the internet, boots to your game console, I believe, at your house, and that's it. Like it's you can play your PlayStation 5 without needing a TV because you have this handheld, but it requires an internet connection, as far as I'm aware, to basically use it at any point in time, anytime. So, major drawback there. Now, if you're watching the football game or watching your favorite TV show, watching a cooking show while you're cooking, and you feel like want to play PlayStation 5 in my hands on a smaller, much smaller screen, while I'm doing this, this is fine. This is fantastic, dandy. You can just do that. If you want to watch a movie with your significant other or your friends, and what you're watching is not that interesting, but you want to hang out and be there physically with them, not necessarily mentally, because everyone else is watching the show and you don't really care. You whip this puppy out, you're good. But it doesn't get you anything additional, as far as I'm aware. It's not a PlayStation 5. It needs the PlayStation 5 to power it, and it's kind of like a stream thing. I'm trying to remember the one that Google did. This, I think it's with the Stadia, Google Stadia or something like that. I could be wrong. It might not be Google, but the Stadia basically was just a streaming service where they had the servers online, and then you just basically played straight to the servers. Interesting concept, but lag's always going to be a problem in that regard. So the Switch, you could play in your hands, you could take it with you could play Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, all the fun jazz. I've gotten a few games over here. I've got the Dragon Dogma, the Japanese collector's edition, uh, Witcher 3 collector's edition. Um, I ended up getting obviously Pokemon Let's Go and other things like that. But essentially, there's a lot of fun stuff you could play that you could play with your family, your kids, whatever. It's a very kid friendly system. Well, then the Steam Deck comes out and completely blows me away. Now, when people think about consoles, and I don't want to get too much into this because it's pretty much a whole video on its own, but basically, consoles are expensive if you didn't know. And for a console, when you buy the console, so you got like the Switch is at 350, I think when it came out. Now I think it's, I want to say it's like $300 now for the original Gen 1, and the OLED's like 350 or 400 or something like that. And then you got, I think the Xbox is like 450, 500 ish, somewhere in that range. And then the PlayStation 5 is like 550, 600 ish, if not more, depending on what it is. But basically, cheapest one Nintendo, then Xbox, and the most expensive being PlayStation 5. So with that, the systems are like really expensive. And you're like, okay, well, what do you get with them? You usually get one controller or two Joy-Cons, which are the same controller, but opposite sides, obviously, for Nintendo Switch. And if you want to buy additional ones, you're looking anywhere from $60 to $80 minimum for an extra controller. So that gives you two controllers. And then you start adding on the extra prices. Okay, you're gonna go buy some games. Okay, well, unless you just buy one game and that's all you ever buy, you're going to be shooting up in the prices really fast, especially if the games are running $60, $70 a piece. Now, I think Switch is more notorious for a little bit slightly cheaper games when they first come out. They're not running the same price as, say, a PlayStation 5. But even then, you're still looking 50, $60. So you buy 4 games, bam, you're hitting $200 already, brand new. Obviously, you can go to your local game store, or video game store specifically, and buy used games for a little bit less, depending on how popular they are. Sometimes even like half price, or they run deals or whatever. But in that way, you're still spending $200 for 4 games at brand new, like at launch or release or whatever. Depending on if it's a really, really popular game, you probably will never find it because that's always sold out, except for new copies. So that's 4 games, $200 for the Switch. You're looking at $500 already. You're already at $500. Well, that's where the Steam Deck comes in, and the Steam Deck comes in as a console that kind of replaces a PC if you don't want to have it. Now, the Steam Deck does similar stuff to the Switch, where you can sit it in a dock, have it powered to that dock, and also have it sent to a TV through an HDMI. So, in that regard, it's pretty awesome. Like, it has a better cooling system. It's a much more powerful cooling system. It's a little bit heftier, but it's literally not that heavy. Like, I don't get tired holding it, like, at all. Like, and I've had I've had physical injuries before that would make my hands get really tired and just like, well, I don't want to hold this thing for forever. Works out perfectly fine. I don't feel tired. I enjoy it. It's not exhausting at all. It's fantastic in my opinion. But then you got these things where, how much are you paying? Well, I think the starting price is like 350 ish. About to blind myself. No, it's about $400. And then if you're looking for, anything above that, let's see. So, okay, let me clarify. The lowest price is 350 currently, and we'll get into that later. 350 for the base tier, which is about the same price as the OLED for Switch, or $50 more than the original. Then it goes into 400 and then 450. So, sorry, the shading and everything on my face is really ruining everything. But essentially, you got those price points. Now, remember when I was talking about you buy 4 games and you get this massive jump? Like, massive jump in price, because 4 games, $200 plus $300, you're at $500 already. Well, in the current state of the Steam Deck, like the original one they released, you can get the most powerful one for 450, which is like 512 gigabytes. There's no Nintendo Switch with that kind of space on it. None. Mm-mm. You gotta spend like $80 or something to get a 512 micro SD card to slide into your Switch, which is what I did for my Switch because I like having space. And games take up a lot of space when everything's all this downloaded stuff. Or the save files get ridiculous over time, where you play a lot of games like I do. I just have a lot of games. And the Steam Deck just comes that way. Basically, everything's running, everything's great. And of course, my Steam Deck is the 512, so it's got special etching and everything. But the buttons are nice. They're not small. I don't know if you can see, but there's like the buttons. You got a headphone jack if you want to use it. You got your one of your intake outtakes and one of your intake outtakes. Your power button, top charge. They actually were smart in this regard and made the charger not on the bottom like the Switch was. The Switch is useful on the bottom because of the docking capabilities, but they should have offered one on the top too. So if you're just doing it otherwise, you could recharge it from the top. They should have done that. It was a bad job. This one puts it on the top. Now, when you dock it, there's a little cord that you can take and pop on the top. It doesn't bother you at all. You've got your little pads and everything to do basically your finger trackpad movements. These are great thumbsticks. They feel comfortable. It doesn't feel bulky. It feels really good on the hand. You cut your two buttons down, your extra buttons here, and then you've got your all this other stuff. Like there's a ton of buttons. Definitely fun. Definitely worth having. And I like both of them. I like the Switch. I like this. I use them for different things because I use my Steam Deck for my more powered games and obviously my non-Nintendo stuff. And then I use my Switch for my more Nintendo-based games or for specific games that I want to play, or if I need a different battery for one thing or the other, whatever I decide. I mean, I mostly play Nintendo games on my Switch, and then I don't play Nintendo games on my other one. So it depends on what I'm feeling like. Now, once you get to that price point of like $500, you're just like, okay, well, do you guys play Steam or use Steam? Do you play PC games at all? And even if you don't, I've got a selling point for you. So the Nintendo Switch, 300, 350, depending on what you got, plus 200 for 4 games. Now, if you go to Steam, and if you're not familiar with Steam, Steam is the PC console on PC. Like it's the go-to. You have all these other parties like Epic Games, which I'll do a video on that eventually. You have Origin, which is I believe EA's, if I remember correctly, EA's little portal shop thing, game store on PC. You've got Ubisoft. You've got I think Bungie has one maybe, or no, I think it's Ubisoft has it, and then Bungie's just on that or something like that. I don't remember. But there's all these different little platforms where Steam is kind of like the go-to for all of it. Like, if you have a PC and you're a PC gamer, you got Steam. Like, you just do. It's a fantastic use. I am a bit of a fanboy, and I don't want to say I'm biased, but I will say I do appreciate a lot of that Valve, who owns Steam, does with the creators that they work with the consumers, and they're very pro-consumer, which I like. But Steam runs sales all the time, like all the time. Pick a holiday, they run sales. So you can get games that are like $40 for 15. Boom. You can get games that are $10 for like 4. Boom. They have different prices. Some of them can go anywhere from full price down to 90% off or whatever. I mean, there's some pretty crazy deals depending on what game you want to buy and what area. But there's also a massive catalog. It's way bigger than PlayStation. It's way bigger than Xbox, and it's way bigger than Nintendo. Probably all 3 of those combined for the current consoles. It's probably got more than all of them combined, hands down. And the thing is that the games don't ever change because it's full backwards compatibility. It's mind blowing how good it is in that regard. They take a bit more of the cut from the developers, like 30%, which is more than most, but they also give you the Steam Workshop, which lets you do mods. They give you a community with like a forum and everything where you can talk to other players, you can talk to the developers or the publishers or whatever you want. You can check out other games by those same developers. So if you like one game by them, you can check out another one. The Steam sales give you just ridiculous price saving stuff, and you could get basically like 12 games for the price of 4 on the Nintendo Switch, and then 3 or 4 depending on if it's Xbox or PlayStation 5. But it's always there. Then you also have Humble Bundles, which add games onto Steam as well, and you can get like 30 games for like $12. Can't do that for PlayStation. You can't do that for Xbox, and you definitely can't do that for Nintendo. So there's a lot of interesting ways you can get a lot of fun games and a lot of cool stuff. But the Steam console has always done it better, in my opinion. Now, taking a little bit more, but that also means that you can buy more copies of the game, which benefits the developers. So, for me, when I would hear about a first-person shooter game or a third-person shooter game or a survival game, I'd like go to my friends and say, "Hey, let's buy a bunch of copies. Let's play together." And then if the game was good, it would draw us into it. So basically, it's still the capitalistic mentality of if it's good, people will show up and play it. If it's not good, people will like try it and then not. There's also return policies, like if you have it less than if you play it less than 2 hours, you can return it, or if there's something else involved, you can return it. Now, it's a really good return policy, um, as long as it comes from the store. If you try to go third party, it won't work, because then you have to go back to the third party, and the third party won't do it. I've tried it, doesn't work. So Steam does a lot of things. They work with the developers on a lot of things, and it makes the experience so much better. And I normally really like them. So this video is a bit weird because I'm like praising them, and also I'm kind of upset with them. But for now, before we get to the upset part, I'm pointing out that buying a 512 gigabyte regular Steam Deck for 450, and then if you already have PC games, you're definitely making bank. Because like for me, I got like 800 games or something on Steam. So with 800 games, I mean, do the math. Like this is my collection from like the last decade and a half up to maybe 2 decades of just collecting games all over the place. I got physical copies sitting over my collection stuff. I've got digital copies. I've got even some in GOG game or GOG.com. And I've got, this, that, and the other. But I've already bought those. I played them on my PC for so long. And then now all of a sudden, hey, you want to play this portably? Sure. Some of the games still require an internet connection, which it has internet or Wi-Fi. So you can do that. You can do it from your phone as a hotspot. You can do whatever you like. Take it to a friend's house, hook up to the internet, you're golden. But then you have games that don't require internet, just like Nintendo does or doesn't, just like PlayStation is going to be limited on its handheld version of the PlayStation 5 or however it connects and everything. It's just the way it is. But it works out great. And there's even a way to upgrade the 512 into like a terabyte or 2 terabytes. I think 2 terabytes is the cap for that. And you could have a ton of stuff installed and play the snot out of things. You could play Cyberpunk 2077. You can play Witcher 3, like really high graphics. And it's way, 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 way nicer and smoother than the Switch's version. Hands down. But it's a portable version, and it's fantastic. Your access to your whole library. Now, there are some games that are optimized specifically to work on or not specifically, but like those games specifically are ones that are optimized to work on the Steam Deck completely. It's the same thing with like if you go into Steam and it says full controller support or partial controller support. It's the same thing where like you can play virtually any game, but whether or not it works is going to be a little iffy. Now the nice thing about the Steam Deck, which I believe you might be able to do that for the Switch, but I've never tried it. I've never even looked up to see if it's possible. But the Steam Deck has USB, so hypothetically you could hook up a mouse and keyboard and use it that way if you wanted to. But I don't think any of the games there specifically are designed around that, so it probably isn't going to work. The Steam Deck, however, is a mini portable PC that's the Steam operating system, but it also gives you access to an actual like Linux desktop mode, which you can put other things. You can put Windows on it, you could put technically Mac on it, whatever you wanted to, if you wanted to, just partition your drives. Might want to go with the 2 terabyte if you're going to do that, but or get some other setup you want to do. But basically, you can take this and combine them in a certain way to where you can play Age of Empires hypothetically on your Steam Deck to your TV. Just you have to have a keyboard and a mouse. So you could technically, if you have like I have this little portable keyboard here that folds out. I've got the mouse pad, and it's got all my stuff, my buttons, all that jazz. Got my little arrow keys, all that kind of stuff, and I can just fold it up and take it with me. Super handy dandy. I've also got just a mouse that I can take with me, and perfectly fine. Like I can travel compactly and still technically have access to anything I want to in my Steam library. Whether something works at peak, that's a different story. It doesn't have like a 4090 in it or anything. Like it doesn't have crazy. It's got its own setup and everything. I'm trying to think of if they even mention what it is, but I don't remember. But basically, the solid state drives make everything go really fast, and it works out nicely. It's got a smooth setup. It's a smooth, delightful setup and everything. But in my opinion, way more value than in a Switch, PlayStation, Xbox. And they're even putting games like they have God of War on Steam. They've got a bunch of other stuff that used to be exclusives that are not necessarily exclusives anymore. And they'd be foolish not to open that market if they're trying to sell their games. But at the same time, they're trying to force everybody onto their exclusivity type thing. Xbox has been trying to do that with like the Gears of War franchise and the Halo franchise. PlayStation's been doing it with God of War for a long time. They finally changed that, and I think a couple other games. I'm not familiar with PlayStation enough. I never had a PlayStation growing up. I bought my first PlayStation 4 like a year ago. And it's one of the terabyte slims that I almost never, I bought it for Ghost of Tsushima and haven't really played it that much. I'm too busy. I don't have $1 million in the bank to where I can just sit home and play games for you guys. I'd love that, but no, it's not going to happen. So my sell to you is that the Steam Deck is a much better and is both like you can just take if you have a Xbox controller or a PlayStation controller that has Bluetooth capabilities or like a wireless connection to your system or something. 9 times out of 10, you can just use that on the Steam Deck as like an extra. Well, I don't have anything unhookable right now. I've even used my Switch Pro, my Nintendo Switch Pro controller on it. Like you can use any controller, whatever you feel comfortable with, that you think will work to help you play whatever game it is you want to play. And it's smooth. It works great. And if you already have it, you don't have to go buy another one. That's one of the best features is that if you have the games on Steam, you don't gotta go buy them necessarily. I mean, you can always buy more if you want to, but you don't have to. If you have a controller, you don't have to go buy more. You can have them. Now they had an actual Steam controller for a while. They stopped selling it, so I'm assuming they're trying to make a newer version of it, or they're just really, really pushing for the Steam Deck so hard. I don't know. I have the Steam Link somewhere around here that's supposed to basically let you play your Steam your computer setup on a TV virtually anywhere in the house. I don't remember where it is. I've moved a few times since then, but but it was a cool concept. There's a couple of cool hardware systems they got set up, but the Steam Deck by far has been my favorite so far. Now, that's my cue for that. Now on to the actual story that I wanted to go with because I'm a little annoyed, just a little. And Steam, you did this to me. I should say Valve specifically, you did this to me. Um, so this past, I want to say it was like June, May or June, something like that. I don't remember. Was I was at the in-laws, I think, and up in this good old state where they're from. I'm trying to remember where they're like 8 hour drive away. But basically, I was up there, found out that the Steam Deck went on sale for its 1 year anniversary. I was like, oh snap! And they had, because at the time, I think it was the most expensive one was like 650, and then it went down to like 500, and then it went down maybe no, it was 550 or something like that. Like it dropped down over a little bit of time, but the first one was basically like it's not that great. Like it's better than probably the Switch in terms of everything, but out of the three options, it didn't have a solid state drive. I don't think, and then it didn't have like a powerful processor. It was like a cell phone processor kind of thing. Like it would still do the job for like low level games, but it wouldn't let you play like Cyberpunk on max graphics or that max graphics underneath the Steam Deck specifically. And it was a little bit different. Then you jump up to the mid tier one, and the mid tier was like where you got your solid state drive, you got your better processor, you're doing better. But it was only like 256 solid state drive. And then you jumped up to the highest tier, which is the 512. You get the premium etched. Like it was the big kahuna. And they were doing like 40 to 20% off. And the biggest model had 20% off, which I got it for like $500 or something like that. Like, I don't remember what it was, but I got it for a very, very good deal to the price where basically I was just under what the original mid tier price was, which is pretty good, honestly. And I was really thrilled. And before I had checked and did my research on whether or not the Steam Deck 2 was coming out because I'd heard rumors about the Steam Deck being in development or whatever. And I was like, oh, let me check this. Well, it's in development. It's probably a couple years out. I was like, oh, well, I mean, I could buy this one. And then when the Steam Deck 2 comes out and after they get all the bugs and everything tested out of it, I can see if it goes on sale and then upgrade to that and get a more powerful system. I was like, that makes sense. Little did I know that within 6 months, yeah, 6 months max, like 4 months. I honestly don't remember what time it was. If you guys know, leave a message in the comments or something. But essentially, they surprised me. They caught me off guard. I just bought this. I'd taken it on a trip with me. I've been enjoying it. Saved my bacon from boredom many, many a times. And I really, 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 really like it. And then they released the Steam Deck OLED. So that's where we're going to jump into now. So this is the Steam Deck OLED. It's fancy, all that fun jazz. So this is the limited edition, which also this irritates me too because I could have paid a little bit extra, gotten double the hard or the solid state drive, disk space, whatever you want to call it. I got double the solid state drive space. I went 512, jumped to a 1 terabyte. Now, I have a 12 terabyte and a 2 terabyte hard drive on my computer, and then I have a I don't know, external. That's the word I was thinking of. I have an external hard drive. That's like another 8 terabytes or something like that. Because I go through a lot of stuff, and when you install a bunch, you have 800 games on Steam, it takes up a lot of installation space. So I'm just like, I need a lot of space. And then if I ever want to take movies with me or download pictures or whatever it might be for the family, I gotta have a place to store them. So I got a lot of stuff, and I also I run a podcast. I run this YouTube channel. I'm a very busy person. I don't have time for a whole lot of stuff that I want to do. But this came out, and the limited edition, which means there's like 1,000 of them or something. Like it's a very limited model, but it's also a bit more pricey. Now, looking at the price, it's slightly more than like the PlayStation 5 when it came out, and maybe they're doing another PlayStation 5 model or something that comes out here now, and then it's still $600. It's a little bit more than that, but it has a 1 terabyte, which I don't know. They probably come with 1 terabyte standard now in PlayStation 5s. I don't know. Um, it's a 1280 by 800 HDR OLED display with premium anti-glare etched glass, 7.4 diagonal display screen size, which is a little bit bigger than the Switch. Up to 90 hertz refresh rate. I don't know what a 6nm APU is, but I'm assuming it's good. Wi-Fi 6E, which I think 6P I think is the current one, so it's supposed to be a Wi-Fi upgrade. A 50-watt battery, 3 to 12 hours of gameplay, depending on what content you're playing. A 45-watt power supply with a 2.5 millimeter cable, which it's a chunky boy in that regard. Like it'll burn through some power. Limited edition carrying case with removable liner. My carrying case is this. I'll shrink for my moment. This is the Steam Deck case. It's a hard case. It's got a little slot here in the back that you can like stick something. I believe it's for a power supply, which is kind of nice. So you can just like, stick your power supply here, and this thing will hold it in place. It's supposed to anyway. I don't know if it will. I guess it depends on the power supply. And then you can open this bad boy up. And I still I leave all my stuff with it. But it's got a little indent specifically for the controllers and everything. And it has like the face. So when you close it, it completely protects it. And it's nice and comfy on the inside. It's a really nice case. And that's what you get with the top tier of the original Steam Deck. I don't know what this one would look like. It's probably it's a little bit nicer with a removable liner, but the limited edition carrying case is probably a little nicer because it's limited edition, whatever. Then you get a Steam Profile Bundle, which I don't really care about. Exclusive Startup Movie, I really don't care about. Exclusive Virtual Keyboard theme, I guess it's fine if you want to customize that. I don't really care. And it takes about 1 to 2 weeks to get, which in all reality is not that bad for an independent hardware company. It's not like going through Acer and all that stuff that I'm aware of. Or not Acer, Asus. I'm not aware of it, but maybe it is. But as far as I'm aware, this is like legitimate Valve hardware. But obviously, there's probably some parts realistically that they have to get from somebody else. Like they didn't make the hard drives. They didn't make probably the APU, CPU, whatever. Like this stuff they didn't make, but they got the bulks, they put it together, they engineered the whole thing. It's itself a Valve product or hardware. But yeah, they basically were like, hey, we're going to make this fancy little thing and this is going to be great. They have limitations on this, I guess, to minimize bot activity where you have to accounts have made purchase before November 2023. So basically, in order to prevent people from disingenuously buying these and scalping them and everything from other people, because they didn't announce this. This is what annoyed me. Is they did not announce this. They did not announce the Steam Deck OLED back when they did the birthday sales. There was nothing. It was dead silence. I didn't even know about the Steam Deck 2. I had to actively like, when are they coming out with this this new system? And it's like, oh, it's in the stage of they're designing it and stuff, but it's nowhere near being actually physically made. And then even if they had it actually physically made, they have to run tests on it. It's gonna be 2-3 years until it even comes out at best news. So it's like, okay, well, what's it gonna run in this the birthday time period when they drop the price? It's like, that's a really good price, and I'm going to be waiting 2 to 5 years minimum to get the Steam Deck 2. Might as well. This did not pop up on there, which makes me kind of angry. Okay, a little bit more than kind of angry, a lot angry, because this is worth, like, I'd pay the extra $100-200 to get a better kit that is faster in certain ways. Now, I'm going to swap out to another. This is going to brighten my face up. Woo! So, it'll get flashy. So, introducing the Steam Deck OLED. Now, as far as I'm aware, there's only two versions of the OLED. There's the 512 and the 1 terabyte. Now, here's on the, I guess, yeah, we'll go down to here. So right here, the 350 is 64 gigabyte LCD. That's the low tier of what the original is. The eMMC SSD, I guess it is an SSD, but it's not an NVMe, which is what you'd buy for like a computer or something. Like it's not up there. You get a 7-inch, which OLEDs typically come a little bit bigger, which makes sense in some semblance of a way. Even the Nintendo Switch OLED was a little bit larger. You get your 60 hertz refresh rate. The new one, you get 90 hertz refresh rate. It's a 6 nm APU for the new ones. It's a 7 nm APU. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing. They're Wi-Fi 5s as opposed to Wi-Fi 6Es. They come with their 40 watt hour battery, 2 to 8 hours of gameplay, content dependent. So basically went from 2 to 8 to 3 to 12 hours of gameplay. So depending on what you're playing, if you're playing something like Koromon or like a smaller, more indie-based game that's not like really battery heavy, you could play it for up to 12 hours. If you're playing something like Skyrim or like modded Skyrim or something that's I don't even know how you mod Skyrim on this, but I'm sure it's doable. Or if you're playing like Cyberpunk, you're probably going to get your 3 hours. And then you can always just plug it in and keep playing. Like if you're at home or something, plug it in and just play it like you would be on your phone if you had it plugged in. It's the same thing. Or if you're on a trip and you can't take your desktop with you or your laptop or something, or your laptop gets really hot, you don't want to use it because this, that, or the other, or maybe you just have a really cruddy laptop. It works out really nice. Then a 45 watt power supply with a 1.5 meter cable. So they basically just increased by 1 meter the cable. You get the carrying case, whatever, and then you get your mid one, which is the price drop for this, $400, 256 gigabyte of NVMe SSD, 1280 by 800 optically bonded LCD, all the same stuff as the other stuff, but it gets you a Steam profile bundle alongside of it. So you get your 256 gigabyte instead of 64 gigabytes for $50 more. The 64 to the 256 itself is worth it, hands down. Getting the extra like Steam bundle doesn't really matter, but the NVMe SSD speed is so much better, hands down. It's worth the $50. Now, pay another $50 on top of that, so $100 from the low tier, and you get the 512, basically what I got, essentially. And I don't think I got it for this good of a price, but I'm pretty sure it was pretty close. Also, these ones are only 3 to 5 business days for the OLEDs and the LCDs, as opposed to the limited, which is 1 to 2 weeks. Probably because they're limited and they're specials. But yeah, like 650, that's a $200 increase from the 512, what it is now. But you're getting a slight increase in display size. It's 0.4 increase. But your refresh rate's up to 90 hertz instead of up to 60 hertz of these ones down here. You're getting a better Wi-Fi connection, allegedly, so you should have better Wi-Fi speeds. You're getting a 50 watt an hour battery as opposed to a 40 watt hour battery, which gives you a little bit more. Now, again, 3 to 12 and 2 to 8, not a massive difference. It's not crazy different, but it is different. 45 watt power supply is the same, whatever. Carrying case with a removable liner versus just a carrying case. Some extra goodies, whatever. So they introduced what is a higher dynamic range screen, a longer lasting battery, faster downloads, and much more, which I'm assuming is for the Wi-Fi. I am not mad that they have new product. I'm mad that they did not state when they announced it. And I get why they didn't, because a business that wants to make money puts things on sale, and then when somebody else comes down the road, or when down later down the road, they announce this other thing after that sale's gone, people have bought it, and it's outside of the return time, like a month or 2 months or whatever it is. I think it's like 14 days or something like that, where you have the chance to like return it. They have their own policy and whatever it is, whatever. But what really bothers me is that they could have announced it and said, "Hey, we're going to be releasing OLEDs, um, but we wanted to do a birthday thing," or even if they did it in the time period during the return period instead of like the original purchase period. So you bought it and you got it within 3 to 5 days or whatever. Um, Even if you did that, if they at very least announced later on, like, "Hey, we're going to be doing this. At bare minimum, we're gonna be making this OLED, and it's going to come out later on this year." People could decide, do I want to keep this or do I want to return it and wait for the OLED? And I think that'd be a better look, because I admire Steam and its innovation in the PC world, its innovation as a powerhouse that takes on the consoles like PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo. Um, I admire them for those kind of things, but what really annoys me is when it feels like you're getting taken advantage of, because they sneakily throw in stuff. And it's the first time they'd ever gone on sale was the birthday thing. So like a year after that they've released the Steam Decks, it's now on sale. And it's like, okay, fair enough. I mean, you guys are known for Steam sales. It makes sense. Take 1 year to get it to go on sale. Sure, that's fine. But then it comes down to upfront honesty and transparency with the consumer. And to me, I probably put a little bit more stock in it than I guess the average person. Where I don't want a company I like to look like they're trying to one up me, if that makes sense. I want them to be like, we have a very symbiotic relationship. They provide me with something that I want, I buy it, which gets them something, which gives me something, and it just goes back and forth, back and forth. But this felt more like they were trying to sneak one past me, because it's like, oh, well, if you really want one of these upgraded versions, you're going to have to buy it again. And it's like, why can't you just give me like a deal where I can give you, in my case, because I have the 512, it's like my thing's worth $450 according to you guys, and you guys sell refurbs. So why don't I sell you back mine for 400, and then I can spend the extra 250 to get the new OLED? Like, because I literally just bought this. It's in really good condition. I haven't jacked it or anything like that. And then, I can get an upgrade. You keep a happy customer that's willing to buy stuff, and you can still sell your regular LCDs to whoever you want to. Like, that to me would be at least a bare minimum thing, but not announcing it at all just seems strange to me. But they could even save themselves a bunch of heartache with, refurbs or whatever, if they just went and said, "Look, we're going to be releasing an OLED later sometime this year, and you know, we're also putting these on sale. So if you want these, grab these now, and if you don't want them, then OLEDs." Like, because to me, like, yeah, they want to make money, and I've given them a lot of money. A lot of people have given a lot of. They've made a lot of money. Obviously, they can make their own hardware to rival that of a PlayStation, Xbox, or Nintendo company. And they're also fighting on other fronts with like Origin, Ubisoft, definitely Epic. I'm gonna go down that rabbit trail. Say that for a different video. But they're fighting all these other companies, but they're always proving to be on the top because of the innovation aspect. But I don't know why they did this. This seems very underhanded, and it irritates a lot of us, because some people bought their Steam Deck like a week before, and they're lucky because they can return it and just buy the upgrade. But those of us who bought it a couple months ago, because there's no chance on this planet this was going to come out, so we had no idea. And now we're kind of just like, we're the ones who are going to get shafted. So for the sake of my brightness of my face. Um, so basically, it's this. It's very disappointing. It makes me slightly angry, at least at the bare minimum frustrated, that a company I like would do this and not seem to see any problem with it. Because, like, if this is a year down the road, that's one thing. But again, why would you not just announce it? Like, I'd be announcing the snot of anything I make product wise a month before it even comes out, just so people are aware. Like, literally, just November happens. Like, this came out a couple days ago, I think, and no news whatsoever. Not on their Steam, not on their desktop apps, not on their website that I know of. Like, nothing, just pure silence. And then just one day it's there and say, "Hey, we're selling this," and it's like, I get you guys don't have a marketing system, but it's your own site that people go on all the time. Just be like, "Hey, in the coming, like, this year, we're dropping this thing." Boom. Hey, there you go. Somebody is aware of it. We were completely blindsided. And if there's stuff like Steam Deck 2 is coming out in so much time, well, we got to wait for that. That's perfectly fine. 5 years down the road, that's plenty of time for me to prep for it, knowing that it's coming down the pipeline. But if you're just like, we're going to do a birthday sale for the originals, and then we're going to just release a couple of months later, less than half of a year later, we're going to release the OLED version, which is technically better. Not by a whole lot, but it's technically better, and it's a little bit nicer. Like, an OLED is nicer than an LCD. Shocking, I'm sure. It's got double the hard drive space. That's nice. It's got a bigger battery that allows you to play longer. That's nice. Like, these are features that typically gamers, especially hardcore gamers like myself, like to have these features. So why do this? Because now you're just ticking off your consumer base. That just seems stupid to me. So Steam, I know you, or Valve, I should say, I know you're not watching this video, but if somebody ever sends this video to you and you do happen to watch it for whatever reason, why do you do this? This seems really bad business practices in terms of keeping good customers. Because this kind of stuff that if Best Buy did it to me, or if I went to Target or wherever I went for any electronics or video games back in the day, if they pulled this on me, I wouldn't go back to them. I'd find somebody else. I'd find a competitor, because that happens. Now, obviously, you don't have a competitor in this area, but why would people be inclined to buy your product if you're going to do this? And it's sad because it's a nice product. Even the LCD, which is technically an older one, about a year and a half now, but even with that, it's still good technology. It still runs fantastically, and I just cannot feasibly fathom why you would make this move. Why? It makes no logical sense to me. Other than you just like, let's make a quick buck and see if somebody just forgets that it happens or doesn't notice it. Autistic enough to notice. Very much so, right here. So, you're putting me in a bad spot because I love your products. I love your system. It's pretty much what I run everything through. All my friends and I run through Steam. You're really killing me here, Smalls. So, I don't know. This was supposed to be a 15-minute video. It just got out of hand, mostly because I get excited talking about things I enjoy talking about, and I don't get to talk about them very often because nobody wants to hear me talk for that long. Point made is that I like Steam. Steam makes a good product. It's a better buy value, in my opinion, than buying a console, hands down. It's both a big screen TV console as well as a portable. It's a much better portable than anything PlayStation's going to come up with anytime soon, in my opinion. But it's also probably not going to be as nice on a big screen TV as a PlayStation 5, just due to its restrictions through the manufacturing process. But it's still really nice. It's just not going to be like super 4K, look inside the pore and the pore on the pore of the person's face, but it will still look nice. Yeah. Anyway, hopefully this didn't bore you guys too much. I know it's a little bit different, and I'm hopefully getting with the Council of Light and the future here soon about some other topics. So, if you liked the video, please like, comment, subscribe. Definitely comment to get me some idea of what you guys are thinking, any particular topics you're looking at that you'd like to hear about. Maybe I can look into them and get you something. But yeah, sharing definitely helps. We're trying to grow pretty fast, and we're growing pretty fast. I'll be honest. It's just one of those things where, in order for me to continue making videos, which I still want to do, it helps if we're a little bit bigger and more people see them, and then eventually we can get monetized, and I can maybe do this more full time. That'd be nice. Be kind of one of my dream jobs, not my ultimate dream job. That's a secret for if I ever do make enough. But it's that's a very my dream job is a very pricey job to get into. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and maybe it was slightly entertaining, or just watching me spurg was entertaining. But yeah, we'll check out some more stuff. There's more videos to be made about Steam and other content around them. Most of it's good, so don't worry about that. But when they call out this, or no, I should say, I'm going to call out when they do this kind of crap because it annoys me and pisses me off. But maybe they'll change their tune. I don't see that happening. They're a bit bigger, but we'll see, I suppose. But yes, we'll leave it there. And thank you guys as always. And remember, walk in the light, my friends.